So before I get into this video, I just want to give you guys a heads up that there could be a trigger warning in terms of like emotions. I know a lot of people who watch me have dealt with the passing of family members, and if this video is going to be too much for you, I would strongly advise you to have some viewer discretion and not watch it at all. Anyway, so let's get down to the video. So it's now 10 years as of today, December 29th, since my grandfather had passed away. My grandpa Charles was an amazing person. When he passed away, that was when I found out that he actually served in the Navy. And to me, that made me realize how really good of a person he was, even during his younger days. Now, besides that, though, I have like a lot of great memories of my grandfather. My grandfather actually introduced me to the Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES, in other words. And to simply put it, he had a bunch of great games that I still remember playing to this day. I'll talk about games like Dragon Spirit, The New Legend, Crystallis. He also had Final Fantasy, and he also had the sequel to Star Tropics 2, which is actually titled as Zoda's Revenge. And more importantly, he also had another game called The Adventure of Link, which is a great game to play, by the way. And in addition to that, he also owned a Sega Genesis console, and there were some games that he introduced me to. Some games that people may not be aware of, like Troubleshooter, which is like a shoot 'em up game, like a rail shooter game, like 2D rail shooting. And of course, he also had Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And there was another game that I also had, which is for the Sega CD, which is the Shining Force CD series, which is also great. Another game that he also had for the console was also Phantasy Star 4. He also had Phantasy Star 3, which is a game I'd rather not talk about much because it's very confusing. My grandfather was really a really great person all around. I remember there was like a lot of times where he and I went out together. He would take me around with him in his car whenever my father had to work. It was just like a lot of fun times for all of us. And to make it even better, he also made Christmas special for me as a kid. So what happened later on? So back in 2011, my grandfather was diagnosed for having blood cancer. And this happened around, I believe, like in around June or July of 2011. It was a very hard time for him. The news was very devastating for me, my father, and my sister. However, despite the fact that he had cancer, my grandfather was a very strong man. He was able to keep living his life until December 29th of 2014. However, there were some things that happened before his passing that I probably should mention. That is something that I will never forget. So as of October of 2014, my father got a call from one of his doctors, and what happened is that my grandfather fell down and he had to be rushed to the hospital. And they told my father that my grandfather could not live on his own anymore, so he had to come live with us. He had to live with me, my father, my brother, for about a month. It was really nice to see my grandfather again during that time, but at the same time, though, it was very painful just knowing the fact that he just couldn't live on his own anymore. I mean, he was getting very old too, so his body just wasn't the same anymore. My grandfather did pretty good while he was living with us. It was very hard for me, especially because when this all happened, I was still in college. I was actually in the process of transferring to a much better school, a private university. I'm not going to say why that is the case because it's not really relevant to the video. It was just really hard for me to see my grandfather go through such a hard time with himself this way. we had him around like for Thanksgiving. I don't know if he was there for Thanksgiving. It's really hard to remember, but it wasn't until like late November my uncle had to come in to get my grandfather because there was no way that my grandfather couldn't be with us anymore because of the fact that we were in a one-bedroom apartment at the time, so he had to be in a much better place. It was really sad for me to see all this happen at once. It did really help the fact that I was still in college, but you know, I was at least happy though to see my grandfather like at least one more time before he had passed away. I was worried that he might have been gone sooner, like before I could actually finish up my last final community college before I transferred to another school. Thankfully that wasn't the case, but the fact that he passed away like just 2 days before his birthday, it was just a really hard time for us. It's really hard to say so much about this because it's been so long now. It's been like 10 years since this happened. But enough about that though. So to anyone out there who has family members that are reaching their point in life where they have to be taken care of by other people, I would definitely suggest that you spend time with them, especially if it's like someone that you're very close to, like I was with my grandfather, because you never know when it's time to say goodbye. So that's really all there is to it. I'm sorry if I was like getting pretty emotional here. This is definitely a video that I thought would be something that would help others who had to experience such a thing, and hopefully they can remember what all the good times that they have with the family members that are now resting eternally. This is Major League Gaming, logging out. I'll see you guys later. Thank you.